Okay, it's day 2 working on the boat. This piece right here is what we're gonna work on today. I just got an afternoon. I've been doing other projects for other things. So all I have is just maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. It is what it is. This boat might take a year. But this right here is our transom. So what I've got is 3 pieces of 8-inch channel. And I've welded them together. They're nice and strong. I had it cut and measured to where it's about 1/8 of an inch shy all the way around this heavy stuff. So that way I can weld into it. And I'm gonna take my saw and cut some strips out of the back, and then that way I can weld it up to the back of the transom. Everything will just be tied together real nice. It's kind of heavy, but I'm gonna have a pretty big motor on the back of this, so I want a good solid transom. I don't need a cap on this, so I'm just gonna leave it like that because I'm gonna put a jack plate. So the jack plate will just bolt. It don't have to like sit over the top of the transom, right? So if I ever need to come back and put a cap, that's super simple. So I'm gonna leave the top like this, bolt my jack plate to the back of it, and then of course bolt the motor to the jack plate. So. Transom's done for the most part. I mean, I've got it all welded in. So now I'm working on stringers. So I've got a few of them laid out. I'm putting them 8 inches apart on centers, which will put them, they're 2 inches wide, so that'll give me a 6-inch space in between them. And I'm gonna put some foam down, and then I'm gonna weld my floor on top of that. I'm gonna put one right in the middle, and that's mainly just so I can get my 8 inches to work out right, and so that I'll have something in the back to kind of weld a good brace up to the middle of that transom. So I got one in the middle. It's not going all the way up the rake because it would go right in the middle. Now I'm gonna put another piece of plate right behind that and then weld it on each side just to really stiffen up that, even though there's gonna be a keel on the underside. But also I'm gonna weld my eye up there on the bow. So I want it to be really, really strong right there. So that's what I'm gonna do. But then these other stringers, I'm cutting little grooves in the underside of the aluminum. And that's allowing me to be able to bend it up. And otherwise, like I might could step on it. I don't know. I'm a pretty big guy, but not that big to bend it down, I don't think. So I'm doing it like this, and then it's bending enough to the bottom of that boat, and I'm gonna weld it down. I'm just gonna make sure everything's nice and tight to the bottom of the boat, weld it down. And then on the back, I'm cutting a little groove in the bottom of the stringer. I'm just setting my saw on like 30 degrees and cutting about a 1/2 inch wide gap just in the bottom. And I'll weld up to both sides of that, but that way if water gets inside that stringer, it'll be able to get out. But also when the water gets in the boat, I mean, those stringers are gonna be welded up for the most part. They'll be pretty tight to the bottom. So if water gets in and runs down that stringer, it'll have a place to get out towards the bilge pump at the back. So you could probably cut like a like a semicircle and then weld a piece of half tube in there so that you might save some structural whatever, but you're not losing a lot of structural support right there anyway. So that's what I'm doing. I'm cutting little grooves so that the water will be able to get over to the bilge pump without the water having to be 1 inch deep in the whole bottom of the boat, if that makes sense. So on the back, I'm also cutting a 15-degree angle so that it'll sit flush on the back of my transom, or the inside of my transom, so I can weld it up. And yeah, that's what we're doing right now. We'll, you see them kind of hanging off the front up there. We'll cut those off level once we get them all on there. So I've got 3. There's gonna be 4 more. So there'll be 7 total in this boat. Let's get them cut, welded on. So the ribs are in. Next thing we got to do is cut off these. So I left the long tails so that I could twist it and push it how I needed to. And what I've got is my laser set up at the end of the transom. And I've got it set where it's level across this boat. And we've been making sure that our boat stayed level how we wanted it. And so my laser is hitting the front of these. And I'm just gonna go through and make a line with a Sharpie. And then that way, all these will be cut off, you know, level. So it's not like I'm just gonna cut it right here, because then I gotta have something to lay on top of it. So this way I'll be able to cut them level, flush, I guess, so that my top deck will be able to sit straight down on it. They're all cut, and what we're fixing to do now is try to put on the gunnels, and they're gonna go down this side right here, and I'm gonna put them on where it's flush at the front right here. And you see I've got it, this is 5 inches over the front of the bow, and what that's basically gonna be is kind of just like a fake deck maybe that sits over the front. And like I said, there'll be tubes in there where I can put my marsh anchors through the tube and hold it where I want it to be. But we're gonna come out to right here, and then we'll have some half pipe that comes off of that gunnel and follows the front of the boat, almost like a bumper kind of. So we're gonna start by putting our gunnel right here and run it wild in the back. And when we get to the back there and go ahead and put our cross pieces on there, then we'll cut it, hopefully at a 45, so I can put another piece of that gunnel across the back and not have to use round pipe back there. It'd be awesome if I could just match it and bring it to the side. So that's what I want to do. We're going to see how it goes, but we're going to get this gunnel going down the side. Okay, so now that the gunnels are on, got them all the way from the front, about 5 inches above the front, down the side, out the back. You see I got them running wild, and that actually helped because I'm able to put a strap across the back there to pull them in even where I want them to be. We're fixing to start building up our decks. So especially on the back side, back here, we're gonna put a piece of channel going across, and then we'll build up our seats from there. And the front deck, of course, we're gonna come off of that with a straight piece, and then it'll go down and come out like another maybe 5 feet. I don't know, I hadn't decided yet. It's gonna come out a good bit though. But we're gonna frame all that up first before we go start skinning it with the decking. But okay, now that I've got the braces to the transom and where the back seat's gonna be, what I want to do is to work on these pieces that would be kind of the, I don't know, the inside of the transom. And I've got a metal brake over there on the table. So what we're gonna do is break a piece of metal that will fit right there, and that way that'll cut out my inside weld on that corner. And so I'm gonna bend it first, just a piece that's the right height, and then I'll put it up there and I'll scribe it on both sides, and then of course cut it and weld it in there. And then all I'll have to weld will be this little piece, like the square piece that sits down on the step deck, and I'll have to weld it all the way around. But I mean, that's not an issue. It's just my brake, there's no way I'll be able to bend that corner bend and then as well as one of the other ones. So I mean, you could cut out a lot of welds, but my brake is homemade, so I can't do that. So I just gotta make do with what I got. And this right here is just gonna look super clean being bent like this anyway. So let's get that bent and cut and weld it on. All right, and with that, we're gonna wrap up part 2. Stay tuned for part 3 coming next week, hopefully. And we're gonna tackle the deck and maybe get this thing ready to flip over. We'll see. Hope you enjoy. Hope you stay along for the ride.